It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman, and the show is made available to you through the generosity of our sponsors. Cart-King.com, 877-986-7771. If you want to go into the mobile cart or kiosk business, check out Cart-King.com. There's been a business for 20 years. You check out all the different designs and styles they have on their website. You pick out which one applies to your business. They'll custom design it for you, custom build it for you, and ship it worldwide. 877-986-7771. PureSoapFlakes.com. Great stuff. I've been using it now for less than a month. It's been about 2 or 3 weeks. Been washing my body with it. Been washing my clothes with it. They come with these flake soaps too. You can wash dishes and stuff like that with it. You feel better. It's no chemicals. There's no GMOs. There's no fragrance. No palm oil. There's no sodium lauryl sulfate in this stuff, and there's no synthetic additives. So right away you feel it all over your body when you're washing yourself with this stuff. You can wash your hair with it, but also to your clothes, especially after you've been washing your clothes in the Pure Soap Flake detergent for a couple of weeks. You can really feel the difference in your clothing as well. 218-568-2525. You can get it at puresoapflakes.com, greenhome.com, amazon.com, or go into Whole Foods and say, hey, where's the puresoapflakes.com? And hopefully they'll order it for you over there. almightygold.com. You can get your gold in affordable quantities, as little as 1/10 of a gram of gold. You can also get into the gold business at almightygold.com, and you could become an affiliate. You put your link there, your affiliate link on your Facebook page and your email address and your Twitter account, whatever. You put that out there. Anytime somebody clicks on that link and they purchase some gold from almightygold.com, you get a commission. They also sell, what's that stuff called? Cryptocurrency that's backed by gold. That's almightygold.com. Emailrevealer.com, that's my website. If adoption investigations, infidelity investigations, email tracing, if you're being stalked or harassed online, I can locate and identify the stalker. We can intervene on your behalf. We can put together a report for court that you can use, or get the police to intervene on your behalf as well. Criminal defense work, asset searches, locate hidden bank accounts, and locate people's current place of employment. Emailrevealer.com. Okay, my first guest, we've been talking already for about 45 minutes off the air, okay? And then we had a little technical glitch, so this is our second start here. Our guest is going anonymously. We're going to call him former Proud Boy, because he was a member of this group, and I guess you can call it as a right-wing group. And it's fascinating because we've been talking so long about different topics. It's hard to believe we would get along, because normally I would be on the side of Antifa and he would be on the side of the Proud Boys, and we'd be fighting. If we met in person, we still might have to someday, right? But our guest is former Proud Boy. Are you there?
I'm here, yes. We're getting along quite well.
Yeah, I know, right? It's fascinating, right? But I think it's that way in life. So tell us about yourself. Who is former Proud Boy?
Yeah, I'm a guy that's just post 50, and so I'm a little bit older than a lot of the guys in the group. I was born and raised in the suburbs of a fairly large city. Essentially, my growing up, I had sort of what you call the most white bread kind of lack of any culture kind of. Experience. And then I went to university and then graduate school. I got married, all of those things. But with respect to the Proud Boys, I guess I could speak to, I'm going to speak to sort of why I gravitate or why I got involved. Because, and maybe you can understand this, is that sometimes when you get a little bit older, you lose some of your male friends, right? Mm. And in a way, there's nothing more fun than guy fun. Getting together, drinking, and talking about girls, all that stuff. It's just sort of good fun. And that was why I became involved with the group because it didn't start off as this, what became what they call alt-right, I guess. It's sort of not alt-right, but it didn't really have a political bend to it initially so much. It started because Gavin McInnes had a show, and the show, one of the staff that was helping with the show was this kind of nebbishy kid that didn't really want to be around girls, and so Gavin would kind of make fun of him. And so initially it started off as sort of this group that was supposed to be guys getting together, having drinks, and maybe younger guys being there, and older guys saying, this is, get off your ass, get off a computer, go out there, kind of meet some girls, try to create, a social end of your life, because I think a lot of young guys, at least, they don't have sort of the social outlet, or they certainly can't communicate as well as perhaps you and I did when we were growing up. So that's a bit of a synopsis.
Yeah, I see that as well. These younger guys, and even younger girls too, but to a less extent. But these younger guys, they're buried in their cell phone all day long or on their computer and typing away, but they really don't have much to say when you meet them in person, and very kind of isolated. Now, but let me ask you this question now. Before you got involved with the Proud Boys, what were your politics like before?
Oh, that's a great question. I had sort of been I could be identified as kind of anything at different times in my life. Growing up, I was sort of a socialist when I went into university as an undergrad. I eventually became a member of a more centrist party, and became involved in politics at my university. And in that instance, I became a little. I've never been married, I guess, to an ideology, and what I mean is that, I believe that we should have a sort of a common, we need to have a wage, like some sort of wage. There's no excuse for homelessness. People should not be on the streets, and so and also universal health care. I mean, these are things that maybe these other guys wouldn't sort of espouse. But in a way, a lot of them are young and they're stupid, right? And because of that, they don't understand that, these things are necessary and needed. So, you can sit and shoot, and say, hey, man, let's just end, any kind of welfare. Let's just, basically laissez-faire kind of system, but at the end of the day, like a lot of these guys are depend on that system that they have, and so it's easy to shoot nonsense at it. So yeah, I don't fit necessarily the sort of label that has been attached to these guys. At least I don't think I do.
Yeah, you seem to me to be like such a fish out of water with this group. Now, let me ask you a question too before
Sure.
we get into more Proud Boy stuff. Because this interview came about because you listened to my show and you contacted me. Now, which one of my first? And you seem to be a happy fan of the show. Like you're not sitting there hating me like half of the audience does.
No.
You just sit there hating, creating fake names to harass me online. You see, look at these guys.
You're so lovable.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So, which show was it that first drew you to my show?
I can't remember the first show, but I remember I certainly became just entrenched with this Epstein stuff.
Right.
And that bothered me a great deal because I wondered, Jesus Christ, is this really something that is? It concerns me because it speaks to stuff that you've mentioned on other shows, like how widespread is this pedophilia stuff, and it seems like it's just hidden everywhere. And I'll just give you an aside here. I can't mention it. It would sort of give me away. Sorry. So it was that, and also things like the John Benet Ramsey things. Basically all the content is interesting, But I would say that probably Epstein was sort of what really got me in, because I was profoundly flabbergasted.
Yeah. Okay, and now on the topic of, like, we're not using your name, right?
Yeah, sure.
And the reason you told me why we don't want to use your name, why you're anonymous, is because you're concerned that Antifa would hunt you down and try and do you harm. But so far, everything you've said to me on the air and off the air, I would have no problem with you, or Antifa would have no problem with you. Like, so then, what is your real concern then?
Oh, and you know what? That's not true.
Okay.
And because what happens is you don't get a chance to talk to Antifa, right? So they just see or label you as a guy that was a member of a group, and they will just attach anything to you, and there's no opportunity to defend it. And in fact, and this is something that's happened to me. Like, I've been affected by this, and I've been labeled certain things, and that stuff gets on the internet. It never goes away, and there's no opportunity to sit down with the person that writes it and say, hey, that's not me. Like, what? Like, you don't know me. And so, yeah, it's I hate to say that, and there's a real, like, I'm sure that most of the people in Antifa are good folks, but there is a segment that is just militant, and they are just they really do harm, and yeah, they don't. It's sort of like any kind of thing, like they just don't want it. They don't want a dialogue of any sort.
Well, okay, but a group like Antifa is, by its design, anti-fascist. That they're the front lines to fight against fascism. And if we didn't have groups like Antifa, we would have the Klan and these other groups overrunning us, and these Nazi party groups that showed up, like in Berkeley and stuff like that, and attacked our side. Thank God we had Antifa there to fight back. In Charlottesville, thank God we had fighters, on the left to fight back. How could you complain about that? You must be anti-fascist yourself. Are you a fascist?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No. Jesus Christ, that's like, of course I'm anti-fascist.
Yeah.
And I think, and I don't know anybody that's even people that you may not like. I don't know anybody that I've dealt with that was a fascist in this group. I really haven't. But I'm sorry, I have a different perspective, Ed. I really do. You spoke to the Berkeley thing, and I see. I just have a different point of view, because I see the other side getting attacked. Like when this bike law comes out and that dopey professor, just beat the hell out of that guy, smacking him on the head and so forth. I maybe I'm wrong, but in my sort of from what I've seen, it's usually the Antifa folks that initiate these the violence, and if anything, the other side kind of, at least the Proud Boy side, kind of responds if they're sort of forced to. I can't speak. I can't speak, nor will I ever speak to some of these right-wing pieces. No, absolutely not. And yeah, absolutely. In theory, Antifa should be there. And in fact, yeah, it has to be there. Yeah. But they're the ones that curtail free speech. They're the ones that shut people down. And on the other side, free speech is open and welcome for everybody. And, really in life, you kind of need both sides, right? Because life's sort of like a seesaw. Most folks meet in the middle, but there's always going to be segments at the periphery.
Okay, we're about the same age, and growing up, I was an anarchist, and I fought for free speech, and I remember as a young man, when that whole thing came out about the Illinois Nazis and the ACLU was defending their right to free speech, and I at the time came to the conclusion that you got to allow that speech. But back, yeah, right. But it's because you got to fight for that free speech too. But still, if you catch these guys in an alley, you kick them out.
Oh yeah. Oh, come on. Yeah, nobody is like the real. And by the way, I've been exposed to these guys that are real. Like they play for keeps, and they have. There's not. These guys were weeded out quite quickly from the Proud Boys, in my experience. But and by the way, you're absolutely right. Nobody wants to be involved or associate with those types of people. So I guess theoretically, yeah, we're in the same place, Ed. You know, of course I'm anti-fascist, but I think there's a tremendous difference between anti-fascist in theory, like it's just a word, and what the Antifa as a group or different collectives are actually engaging in. And you know, I know, for example, I'm not going to name the guy, but you know, we have people that have gone to jail for you know, trying to incite domestic terrorism that are in this group, and yeah, there's some really maniacal, really terrible guys in there. Now remember, I can only give insight into the Proud Boys. Okay, right. I'm not in a position to talk about Nazis except to say, yeah, of course, you know, it's disgusting, and I think any logical person would come to the same conclusion.
Okay, but then again, at Berkeley, you know, there was an organized effort by the 1%ers, the 3%, no, the 3%ers and the Oath Keepers and all these characters to arm themselves and to buy security uniforms and vests and helmets and stuff like that, and then show up down there at Berkeley from across the country. You know, this was an organized response. Across the country they came. Sure. And then they chose to attack a section of the crowd that was the LGBT section. Like, they chose, like, they went for the rainbow guys, you know, and women. This is, and with baby carriages. You know,
yeah, it's going for the weakest link.
Yeah, which, you know, again, that's a tactic. I can kind of, you know, appreciate that. But thank God we had some fighters there, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, it's like, you know, like I said, Ed, you know, I can only sort of give you insight or speak to the Proud Boy thing with regards to the far right groups. Yes, of course, I have no affiliation, nor do I feel comfortable with them. And I will say this, that, yeah, there were certain guys initially that came into the Proud Boys at certain points that did have these points of view or something close to it. And they were cleaned out quite quickly. There was no, you know, and by the way, like, I'm an ex-member. I obviously am not aligned with them anymore, but there are some things that they did well. And one of them was, there was no room for, you know, any kind of racist nonsense.
Okay, well then describe to us then, what is your, how would you describe the Proud Boys to us?
I describe it as a group of guys, men, who sort of look at what we've created here in the Western world, in North America and so forth, and feel good about it. You know, and there's a certain callback to maybe what life was like maybe 20 or 30 years ago, where, you know, a guy would go to work, his wife would stay at home and be able to raise kids, and you wouldn't be working two jobs, and the wife wouldn't be working, you know, these types of jobs. Sort of a callback to what you call better days. Now, there's also, you know, there are some you might call tenets in the group, or beliefs, and one of them is I'm just actually, I can't remember something. I'm just taking a look here. Well, one of them is, you know, and I don't necessarily believe in this, that everybody should have access to guns. Free speech, you know, and that means free speech for the stuff. Free speech is not because you want the stuff you like hearing. It's protecting the stuff you don't like hearing. You know, it encourages entrepreneurial enterprise, and sort of one of the things also is the sort of abolishing sort of the current prison system that's going on, because there's so many people in there for nonsensical little bullshit charges, and so sort of reforming that and legalizing all drugs, because the drug war has done nothing to certainly curtail drug use, and it's only brought about more serious drugs, right? Because, you know, at first you had opium, and then, you know, opium was kind of copious to bring in, so you get something a little bit smaller, right? So you get heroin, that's smaller, and you go, well, geez, we'll get something even smaller, so we'll get this fentanyl, you know, and then we get carfentanil. It's just, and that's all part and parcel of the drug war.
Yeah, that whole thing is terrifying, you know, and there's no one who's an average person is benefiting from any of that. Let me, did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
Okay, good. Let me ask a couple questions here now. But
sure.
the Proud Boys, the membership is 100% white?
No, Jesus Christ. I'm glad you asked that, I guess, I'm surprised. No, not at all. The membership is, I guess, like, if you look at sort of the demographics of the United States or Canada, the white is sort of the majority population. So I guess the Proud Boys would reflect that too. But no, there's black members and brown members and Asian members. Yeah, sure. And by the way, the black members aren't like washing our cars and shining our shoes. Everybody's welcome. Everybody's welcome.
And so then, what would you say is the percentage of blacks or Hispanics that are members of the Proud Boys?
I couldn't speak to what's happening in certain, because every city's different, right? It would probably reflect the populace there. I can speak for where I am, and obviously the majority of the guys are white, but so I could throw out some sort of, I could just do something off the top of my head. It may not be accurate, so there's some. Actually, that would be fair. There's some Jewish guys and a few black guys, but of course they're the minority, for lack of a better word. Maybe that's not correct, but in the group. But I've never seen any kind of.
It's kind of like when you go to a Trump rally and there's a couple of black guys there, and there's a couple of Spanish guys. Right. There's a couple.
It's like how many black guys are at a Van Halen concert, right?
I don't know. I've never been to one, but I would think there would be a lot more than I've been to all those Trump rallies, because it was covering them for the show. And you do see a couple of black guys and a couple of, but they're always kind of like that odd type of guy. You would find them odd. Now, why is it you'd think that there wouldn't be more Jews or blacks who would gravitate toward the Proud Boys?
Sure. I think that maybe, okay, so remember, this group started as by Gavin McInnes, right?
Right.
And Gavin McInnes had a show on Compound Media, which is a network that is run by Anthony Cumia from the Opie and Anthony show.
Oh, sure, okay.
And and by the way, and that's sort of what, again, I came across this by happenstance. I'll get your question in a second, but I came across this sort of by happenstance. Like I thought Gavin was hilarious, and it was the humor that drew me in. And he and I have sort of similar, raised in sort of similar suburban settings and so forth. So when some people say, "Oh, that seems," what he said is kind of troublesome there, I see the joke, right? I see the joke, and sometimes, when somebody says something and then it's placed in print, it loses all the nuance. So remember, the audience for Gavin there, just based on that, that network in and of itself, was primarily, I guess, white, right? So I guess probably a lot of folks that were black or members of, I wouldn't say Jew, whatever, they may have come across this through some other means. That's what I think. There's certainly, and then also, I guess, once the group got going and was labeled this hate group pretty early on, it would probably be a bit of an impediment, or I can't see a lot of minority folks gravitating towards something that is deemed to be a hate group. But so really, the guys that are in there that are minority groups are, they're sort of real. They really are proud to be Proud Boys, for lack of a better term.
But the thing is, like, even when you go to these Trump rallies and that you see a black guy or something like that, there is a lot of like behind their back. There'll be racist comments when they're not within ear distance. You'll hear racist comments and stuff like that. Oh, you know what I mean? Is there that kind of stuff?
No, I have not. Again, you know what? I'll just let's call a spade a shovel. Okay. In life, when you're with your friends or whatever, or actually probably in my experience, when I'm with friends of mine that are member minority, often the jokes that come out are pretty scandalous, right? But in a way, it's sort of it's the way it's conveyed. Like, you can, real hate like real hate is ugly, and people don't gravitate towards that. But if there's a joke, and so for usually in my experience, yeah, it's well intended. But I get what you're saying. I have not experienced that in the Proud Boys, like, hey, he's a good guy, but unfortunately he's black kind of thing. No, I've never experienced that. And like I said, that sort of behavior was happening early on in the group. And, people were, what is it, these 14 questions or something that's Nazi, anti-Jewish, all these guys that were kind of espousing these views were kicked out. And there was no room for that. So, no, again, and you take it as you will, I've never heard any kind of untoward joke regarding a minority group.
Okay. So we're going to take a little commercial break, okay? And when we come back, I'm going to ask you about, first of all, why you're no longer a member of the Proud Boys. What is it that got you out of this? Also, the connections, too. How much are they considered Trump supporters? Their connection to Roger Stone, the use of violence, and the use of drugs. So basically, if you want to take some notes, that's what I'm going to be asking you about when we get back. We're speaking today with a fine gentleman here. Do we want to say what city or state you live in?
We'll just say.
We don't have to.
Won't.
We don't have to.
Maybe the accent gives it away. I don't know.
I don't know about that, but okay. But we're speaking to our friend here, a former Proud Boy, from an undisclosed location. and we'll be right back after these messages. And by the way, just to be fair, too, we've talked off the air, and the reason why he's concerned about giving his identity and stuff like that is he's concerned about attacks from Antifa, not from these former Proud Boys, which you're still friends with these guys in some degree, right?
Some of them.
Okay.
Some of them. But I will speak to at least certain situations that really frighten me about the group. I don't think it's the same group that I was involved with. I think it's taken a bit of a turn. But we'll speak to that.
Okay, so we'll be right back with more former Proud Boy right after these messages. And now a word from our sponsors. AlmightyGold.com. Get your gold in affordable quantities. 1 gram, 2.5 grams, 5 grams, no minimum purchase required. Why save in paper when you can save in gold? AlmightyGold.com understands it's difficult to afford gold in large quantities. No one can afford an ounce of gold. This is why Almighty Gold has introduced to you Carat Bars, a most reliable company where you can buy gold in minor quantities from as little as 1/10 of a gram. That's like $6. Each gold bar is inset into the Carat Bar frame, which is a standard credit card size, and it's covered by a safety laminate. It's imprinted with a unique DNA for counterfeit protection and provided with a blacklight authenticity signature on the front. Gold, AlmightyGold.com. They have a cryptocurrency backed in gold, and you can become an affiliate at AlmightyGold.com and make a commission from any gold that is purchased from your affiliate link. It's contact us at almightygold.com. That's their email address. Contact us at almightygold.com. Gold! Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe add new point-of-sale locations across the country quickly, or bring in revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services to your office building, warehouse, or lobby? CartKing.com is the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail, coffee, food carts, and kiosks that money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application. That's www.cart-king.com. Give them a call at 877-986-7771. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you. So you go to the website, CartKing.com, you check out their different designs and models. You pick out which design applies to your business. They'll custom design it for you, custom build it for you, and ship it worldwide. CartKing.com. PureSoapFlakes.com. 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with pure soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. Order today at PureSoapFlakes.com. greenhome.com, amazon.com, or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. We're here today talking about the Proud Boys. We have a former Proud Boy with us here. That's his name, former Proud Boy. We're talking about the Proud Boys. Okay, now what about, I was asking about Trump and Roger Stone. Would you say the average Proud Boy is a Trump fan?
I would say, yeah. That's, in fact, once this thing started to get going, Trump was certainly, it's fair to say that's accurate. Now, in my case, I just looked at Trump as the lesser of two evils. I certainly didn't jump on this parade of I'm a little bit more measured than some of these guys. I didn't jump on that train because, listen, don't tell me what I'm going to support, right? Again, like I said, he's the lesser of two evils. That's it. But no, I certainly don't, unlike sort of the group in and of itself, all these guys, for the most part, like maybe 10% sort of share the opinion I do. But Trump is definitely.
And I agree with you, Larry. The Clintons are a dangerous crime family. There's no doubt about that. But now, what about Trump against Bernie, or even Trump against Biden is probably the same thing. But Trump against Bernie or Trump against Warren, where would you be on something like that?
Sure. I'm a kind of a unique case, so it's not really reflected in the progress. I like Bernie Sanders, but I think that he's. I would hope that if he became elected, that he would realize coming into office that he's not going to be able to implement some of the more.
I think he will. I think he understands. Yeah, I think he understands that. Yeah, these are practical guys.
You know what I mean? Like, we get into you always sort of go with the most extreme thing on the campaign trail, in a way, and then you get into office, and suddenly you realize you have to be a little more. You have to sort of make life. You have to interact with other people that are in government. But so sure, I'm kind of I'm an anomaly. So I'm kind of a fan of Biden in some ways too. Apparently, I was reading a book by the Secret Service. Apparently, he likes to swim naked. He doesn't care. He goes to his home and just jumps in the pool naked. He doesn't care if the Secret Service agents are women. So maybe he's my kind of guy. I don't know.
He's a creepy guy to me. I couldn't deal with Biden whatsoever.
In some ways, and again, he's sort of disingenuous, but unfortunately, there is.
The guy's a crook too. He's part of that same crime family as Bush and Obama and Clinton. Anyway, let's move on from that. Roger Stone and the Proud Boys. What's that connection going on there? That can't be good.
That I think. Now, again, I don't have firsthand knowledge of this, but from what I can read of it, Stone was probably in an environment where there were Proud Boys. He probably did one of these. Oh, sure, I'll sort of do the little oath thing or whatever, and then he gets this label. I don't think it was sort of I don't think there was like an effort or anybody thought it out. In fact, a lot of this group wasn't thought out originally. There wasn't some grand scheme. And so, then later on, apparently they were, guarding him or whatever. I can't speak. You know what? I would be lying if I said I knew anything about that kind of organization that would be involved in that. In other words, like some sort of, like people actually saying, we're going to be here and there, and we're going to protect them, and this is how we're going to do it. And certainly, I'm unaware of there being any kind of financial compensation for those guys.
Okay.
So, I really can't speak to that, but I will say, like I said, I think it was one of those things where the guy standing there was, okay, sure, I'll be part of the group. Because it seemed like a goof at first.
But the thing is, but you're friends enough with the leadership of this group, you've mentioned their names, that you could ask them this question, hey, what's the connection to Roger Stone? You could ask them that if you wanted to know, right?
It seemed, by the time Stone was really getting involved with the Proud Boys particularly, I was sort of on my way out.
Okay.
So that's why... again, and really, I'm just going to go divert a little bit because, I think that maybe I've been a little bit, I've edited my content a little bit because there is stuff in the Proud Boys that I'm uncomfortable with, shutting down the government, the ending of welfare that they believe in. I I do believe in closing the borders, but you know what? Some of the way it's worded is a little harsh. There needs to be a vetting process. But
Let me ask you a question. Why would you be in favor of a quote unquote shutting down the border? What's your problem?
Yeah, you know what? It's just an issue with respect to there is a process. If people want to come into a country, they could do so by doing the paperwork and staying in line. I think it's downright negligent of a parent to take their child all the way across Central America and up through Mexico, and then throw them at the gates of the United States. I don't know any parent that does that. By the way, don't confuse me with the guy that doesn't understand why a person wants to get out of an economic oppression or governmental oppression, or some kind of maybe they're going to be imprisoned or whatever. But there are sort of if somebody is really in duress, like in other words, if they're going to be arrested for some sort of trumped up crime or whatever, there are means that.
Right. But the means are that you come to the U.S. border, or you set foot on U.S. soil, and you present yourself to an official for asylum, which is exactly what they're doing. But then the response is that we put them in cages, and separate them from their children and lose their children. And the other problem is that fine, these people are here now. Maybe they don't have the same kind of pieces of paper in my pocket that they have in their pocket, but it's a paperwork crime. It's a paperwork issue, okay? And there's a lot of people driving around without auto insurance. There's a lot of people driving around without licenses. No, it's true. There's a lot of people with other paperwork issues, and we don't separate them from their family and put them in cages. We just, a little fine or whatever. And these are the people, because I live here in Las Vegas. Many people, my neighbors. These people are my neighbors. When I go to 7-Eleven, I buy coffee in the morning. They're the ones selling me coffee. When I go to the car wash, they're the people washing my cars. And they may not have the right paperwork in their pocket, but they're not some kind of a bizarre, overwhelming threat to me, like is portrayed in the media, that this is such an urgent problem. We have to do something about the guy who mows my lawn. Is this guy really that big a problem that we have to shut down the government? You know what I mean? And all this craziness over nothing?
No. Yeah, I'm not. Of course, I'm not a shut down the government kind of guy.
Yeah.
And also, it's. I hear what you're saying, right? I do. But the thing is that, and again, you're going to disagree with me, Ed, and I'm prepared for that. And by the way, I'm the guy I'm open-minded. I'm willing to be proven wrong. Okay.
Yeah, and don't worry if I could disagree with you, man. I'm going to be polite. I'm not going to be mean or hang up on you.
Okay. But I think. Okay. Anyway, so just to say that, take a look at, say, Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I haven't been to Los Angeles for years, but so Los Angeles today, and let's take Los Angeles 30 years ago. Again, I hate. You know what? I hate saying these things because it hurts me to say them. In other words, the sort of disgusting truth, it bothers me to express it. But I'm just going to. Unfortunately, it appears suddenly there's gated communities and there's graffiti and there's all sorts of this economic system that isn't controlled or in other words, there seems to be just looking at the city itself, just looking at it aesthetically, it looks like hell, and it used to have some semblance of normalcy. And again, maybe this harkens back to this feeling that the problems kind of want to toss things back about 30 years with respect to, a guy going to work and the wife at home and one job taking care of things.
Yeah, right.
And again, it hurts me to say this, Ed, because you know what? I don't like saying these things because I don't like believing it. But I'm kind of like, who are you going to believe? Me or your lying eyes, right? So that's what I mean. And really, you can only take so many people into the country, okay? And then let's so for a moment, let's rest the issue with regards to folks coming up through the Mexican border, and let's talk about the influx of people that are coming from Middle Eastern countries. Okay. Now this is one thing that arguably I'm a little further to the right on, and the reason is this: a sort of what you might call a Muslim that's like a Christian that goes to church on Easter and Christmas. That's, what, go ahead, onward and upward. But there seems to be, particularly with folks that are involved, like really religious folks, in this, they don't, so the sort of the first group that is coming into a country that doesn't want to have sort of assimilate into the culture. And given the fact that, with traditional immigration, so we'll talk about Christians and Jews, they kind of were going by the same playbook. And suddenly there's a group that doesn't want to be, it seems to profoundly, I was just speaking about the religious folks, that seem to profoundly want to just have things change to sort of make things in order to...
well, let me ask you a question then. Where do you see this happening, and are you in daily contact with these people?
You know what? And I'll admit this much, okay?
Yeah.
I'm one of these guys, and again, I think we all have this hypocrisy, where we go and we kind of have these opinions of the group, and we look at we have evidence that support it. But then you meet a person, you go, you know what? I don't like him, but Ed's okay.
Exactly. Right.
You know what
because
I mean?
I think when you have this picture of these Muslims, like you're seeing you're getting this from the internet and from TV. Now, my daughter goes to a school over here. It's a nice school, okay, and it has some kind of Turkish background to it. It's a private school. It's not private. It's a public school. It's a charter school, but it's called a Choral Academy. You can look it up. They have some kind of connections with Turkey. A bunch of the teachers are Turkish and stuff, and a lot of the kids there are Muslims. Some of her best friends, they wear the hijabs, the whole deal. And these people aren't, man. I joke about them. I say they've got suicide bombs. But they don't really. These are normal kids, man. I've met their parents. They're not their family. And when you want to know what, they're very conservative and right wing. Much more right wing than I am, and also too, they're very really big on education. They're going to great schools, man. They got Stanford. They got accepted to all these great schools. So again, like I know what you see on TV, and I know what you read on the internet. But in real life,
there's also without giving away where I am, there were two examples in the past. I'm going to say within the past 2 years of men being found being exonerated or being of raping their wives because the judge found that they didn't know better, kind of. Their knowledge or their point of view of the world is not one that we share. Therefore, literally, and by the way, this is not sort of, hey, this is on the internet or whatever. These things happen.
Okay, no, but you're complaining now. You're saying, well, okay, these Muslims, these Arabs, they have backward views toward women. They're being chauvinist.
They do.
And that's exactly what you like about the Proud Boys.
Well, I don't. You know what? I don't see it that way because look, you know what? I know it's one of those things. Like it's one of those things. Like what is it? The letter of the law. Was it the rule of law? Letter of the law? Something like that. In other words, what's sort of written and what a segment of a group believes is sort of you go along to get along. But I've never seen an example of women being, hey, babe, get in the kitchen. And in fact, Gavin McInnes himself, his wife is Native American, and she is fairly left of center. And, she's at home, but, she had a career and so forth. And so,
I would say this too, that my traditional beliefs about male-female relationship is a lot more would be, because I'm an older guy, and it's just I'm a lot more traditional roles of men and women. Okay, and again too, like even this harkens back to your complaint about or your observation about California and how. It's run like a prison in some ways, like a big open prison, and you're right. 40 years ago, California was a beautiful place. I went there when I was 12 years old, and the beaches were wide open. You could buy a place near the beach, and you could work as a butcher in a butcher shop or a florist in a florist shop, and your wife didn't have to work, and your kids could go to college, and you had one income family, and your wife could stay home with the kids. My mother stayed home with the kids, until she had to work.
Yeah.
But that's not the cause of a bunch of poor Mexicans coming up from the border. That's the cause of our breakdown of our economic system and our oppression from the capitalists causing this. The capitalists who are lazy and don't want to work and want to have their capital work for them, and that we must work for them. And even though they don't work, they have the right to fire us and create our work conditions and work rules. So I don't see the solution to that to keep out workers, who are hardworking people. The solution is to go after these capitalist non-workers, okay, and make them get off their butts and work. Again, that would be my thoughts on that.
I can see that there is a, it's arguably it's larger than just the immigration, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's like again, these are. I'm mirroring an opinion of somebody else, but really, it's like having Mexico North in some respects, just with respect to certain communities. Now, I was in, I forget the name of the place. It's just outside of San Francisco, and this is back in the late 90s. And I got to tell you, where I come from, it's pretty. It's pretty. There's no fear here. But that community out there, it scared the hell out of me with this sort of graffiti on walls and see guys hanging around on the front of their cars and stuff. And again, is that an immigration issue? Part of it is, but I concede the fact that you're absolutely right. Part of it is also the system in and of itself. And with California, there's so much nonsense, and Gavin Newsom and all this horseshit. Sorry, Ed. So it's more complex than that, but I certainly think that it is a factor. It is a factor. So again,
looking at this historically, it's ironic that we would complain about Hispanic people, a percentage of Hispanic people living in cities called Los Angeles and San Francisco. where this
was of it that way. You got an excellent point there. I guess I'm defeated, and I got to put my tail between my legs and go run off.
The conditions. You're right. The conditions are horrible. Right. We're living in horrible conditions. We live as slaves, all of us. Some of us are better off slaves than others, and some of us are slaves on a street level, and are in combat with the police. So they're being occupied by roving bands of pirates that pull them over and search them and go through their pockets and come up for any reason to arrest them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I hear that, and as a white guy. A white guy with a short haircut who wears sports jackets. Yeah. I guess I gave myself away. I have never been, I've never sort of been profiled like that. But I will say, I guess a couple of years ago, my first negative experience with the police, and it left me with, there is a basis for these complaints, because before that, I saw the world in kind of for lack of a better, like black and white. Good guys wear black hats or white hats, But I guess people wear gray hats. But no, I've never been subject to that, and I would hate. And I think the system that has that. I don't know what to say.
No, because the other thing is too.
The system's broken. The system's broken.
The system is broken. I agree with you 100%. And when you're in a situation where there aren't jobs and there aren't, you turn to illegal employment, drug dealing, and other kind of crime.
Yeah.
And then you're right. You have to fight for your corner, and you have to fight for these things just to keep your territory. So it causes additional crime and problems as well. But in every neighborhood, you have that everywhere. Now, what about the violence used by because the Proud Boys, I would tell you, see the violence as a means to an end. They see it as a legitimate means. No.
Sure. I would just, you know what, I agree, but I also disagree. But I'll tell you what I agree with. There's degrees in the Proud Boys, right? First degree, second degree, third degree, fourth degree, right? So the fourth degree is one in which you get that degree by somehow being involved in somehow being involved in some sort of conflict with for the cause or whatever the hell that means or whatever. Now, that is supposed to be contained within a defense thing. In other words, and this is, I can't speak to every example, of course, but from what I've seen for the most part, Proud Boys don't initiate a lot of violence, but they certainly will hit back if hit. But that fourth degree is a real problem, because I remember at the time when it sort of started, there were guys openly saying like, yeah, I get my fourth degree, I got to go down there and kick some ass and take some names. So yeah, there are these ham and eggers that are in the group that certainly are violent and like violence. But you know what? In a lot of ways, that's a young guy thing, right? Like young guys are a lot of them. Like, it's like the guy maybe you knew in high school, right? He would like to get drunk. He wouldn't want to get drunk and go meet girls. He'd want to go get drunk and get in a fight. Or this is, I don't know if it speaks to the group itself. Maybe it provides an excuse for certain violence or whatever. But I think that's in the minority. I do. But I'm not going to, I certainly think that fourth degree is a real problem and should never have been instituted. So that speaks to violence. So yeah, I agree.
Because what you're describing is that there's a level of hierarchy within the organization, and that people that have engaged in violence in support of the cause are considered of a higher status than those who have not done that.
I don't know. I mean, unfortunately, I'm a third degree, so I can't. I mean, I like to get this.
Well, get me a fourth degree on here. What do I do with you?
Yeah, I'm third degree, all right. Third degree head case. But there's no sort of like a third degree supersedes or is better than a second degree or whatever. The degrees are kind of silly in a way, and you know what? As I mentioned, sort of you and I speaking privately, I'm kind of disgusted at myself, or I had to take a good look at myself that I was susceptible to sort of this grouping and doing it for the team or whatever, right? So again, so you're right with respect to certain things. I can imagine what it would do to a younger guy who doesn't have a real sense of identity, and this group becomes the only sort of it becomes sort of his only friends. And I've seen guys like this, early on in the group, because I was there. I was a guy that was there like basically from the start. And I saw guys initially, and I thought, this kid is really socially inept.
Right.
And I certainly, I would deal with these guys that would say, the Twin Towers are taken down by, like, they were blown up, but those planes were like what do they call it? Like
hologram.
Some image or whatever. A hologram, I guess. And I would look at this guy because I'd be waiting for I'd be waiting for the punchline, but there was none. Right? They get this look in their eyes, and so it's a problem. It's a problem.
Okay. Let me hit you with a couple of things, because we're going to have to go over time. Okay, we're hitting 55 minutes, and so we're going to have to.
Sure. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. No, you're doing great. This is good stuff. But to wrap up this segment here, and then I'm going to hang up on you and I'll call you back in like 10 minutes.
Okay.
Sure. But to wrap up this segment here, how would you like to leave us with? What would you like to leave us with in this segment of the conversation? We haven't gotten into the drugs, which I know is a big portion that you want to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, it's kind of in a way, it was kind of the catalyst that had me, reach out to you, because this group just like 2 days ago, a guy died, drugs. I know a lot of guys that, particularly cocaine and alcohol. And as I mentioned, I was, again, you wouldn't think at my age that, I think I'd done cocaine twice in my life. And the last time was like 1994 or something. Like I said, it grabbed me until I, straightened that out. And so did the alcohol.
All right, so in the next segment, we'll address the use of drugs. Yeah. Let me ask you a question. What else would you like to address in the next segment? What else would you like to cover on the Proud Boys?
Well, I think that where they're going, how they've changed, and what I see, and particularly with respect to the drugs, and the fact that I do feel that the group has moved from where it was initially, which arguably was more of a bunch of guys getting together, and the politics was secondary, into a group where now, remember, so they've gone through a lot of changes. So they've kind of sifted through, and the guys that are there are what you call like the true believers, right? And so that I see as a bit of a problem. They're good guys, don't get me wrong, but it also keeps some bad guys.
Okay, so I'll meet up back with you in about 5 minutes, okay? And we'll be right back with more of ex-Proud Boy on the whole story of the Proud Boys. We're going to be talking about the drugs in the group, the alcohol use in the group, and how he thinks that they've changed and where they're going. We'll be right back after these messages. Okay, so there we had a ex-Proud Boy. Okay, and now and what we'll do is I'm going to tape about another half hour with him, or maybe another hour, and we're going. There's a lot to talk about here. I think the conversation is going very well. And what do you call it? This will either go on another episode, another full episode, or I'll attach it to something else, or it'll go into the member section, the next portion of the show. So if you like today's show and you want to support our show, whether you agree with us or not, and see how people can disagree about things without hating each other, without getting all upset and treating each other like less than human. And I hope the audience feels I've been respectful to our guests here. I think we agree on more things than we disagree. But if you like today's show and you want to support this kind of conversation and this kind of reporting, you can go to oppermanreport.com and become a member at our member section. Or you can send a donation. Or if you want to sponsor our show, you want to advertise on our show, you can contact me at oppermanreport@gmail.com. You can become a sponsor. We get a lot of our sponsors get a lot of reaction from this show. I can tell you that for a fact. Also, too, if you want a discount, our membership is normally $6 a month. But if you want to get a discount on that, you can contact me at oppermanreport@gmail.com, and I got a discount for you. I'll give you 13 months for $65. But you don't have to do that. You can go to the website, oppermanreport.com. You can sign up for a month for $6. You get access to 200-plus shows, videos, all documents, pictures, all kinds of stuff, man, is in there at oppermanreport.com in our members section. It's not just a couple of rotating shows. You can join up for $6 and get access to everything in there, for a month. You're not going to be able to see everything in 6 months. Even some obsessed listeners, man, who just sit there all day long and go through this stuff and email me all day long. No one can get through 200 shows in less than 6 months. You got to eat and sleep. You got to shower. Okay, so there's a ton of content in there, and we desperately need your support. Also, too, on a personal note, my daughter, we've set up a GoFundMe called Help Victoria Get Into College. You may know the whole story, but we had a college fund with my ex-wife, and at the last minute we found out that she stole the college fund and she spent it. Well, she didn't spend it, she diverted it. We know exactly where it is. We went to court, and the court said, no, she can have it. You're not allowed to send your kid to college. Because that's what the courts are like here in Nevada. Okay. All right. And I even got yelled at by the judge for even daring to want my own money back, But anyway, so we set up a GoFundMe. It's called Help Victoria Get to College, from Victoria Opperman, Henderson, Nevada. You can find the GoFundMe link. It'll be in the description here on this show. And we desperately need your support to help Victoria get to college. She's a great kid, great student, and accepted to a great school in Washington, D.C., and unfortunately, we're short. We're short in getting her those funds there. We're going to try and take out loans and stuff like that, but we do need your support. And so anybody who's listened to the show for years and years and years, and you heard when Victoria used to come on the show, and you heard all our tales of woe when we were talking about the divorce and the custody litigation and stuff like that. Here we are, got full custody. She turned out to be a great kid. The only thing is the funds that we had put aside for her college education have been converted to her mother's own use and not available to Victoria's use. So help Victoria get to college. It's a college GoFundMe. And there's a link on my Facebook. There's a link, and you can find the link. If you can't find the link, give me an email. Send me an email, oppermanreport@gmail.com. I'll be happy to send you the link. So thank you so much. We'll be back with at least another half hour of ex-Proud Boys, either in the member section or it will be played on the air. Thank you.